Alrighty guys, welcome back to yet another video on the channel. Today we are discussing what to do with brand new brass once you've purchased a firearm. Now you may think, well, you could possibly load your brand new brass as it comes from the factory for your rifle, but there is a better way to do it. Now if you find yourself in a situation very much like I do, while you have to wait for your firearms, here in South Africa it could take up to 6 months after you've purchased your firearm to actually get the firearm. And in that time, what I like to do is I like to source some components. Now in this case, you'll see behind me, I've got some Peterson 6.5 PRC brass as well as 300 PRC brass. Now there's a few things you can do to make this brass as ready and as perfect as possible for when you do your first loading. And that is what I'm going to share with you guys today. Very easy, let's go. Right, now before we get into the brass working, I want to thank Modular Driven Technologies. MDTTech.com make gorgeous chassis systems like this. Not only are the chassis absolutely stunning, but they'll improve the accuracy and modularity of your rifle. Now if you're looking to kit out your rifle for your next hunt or a precision rifle, or you just want to make your rifle look absolutely killer, head on over to MDTTech.com. Now, YouTube monetization person, this is a chassis. Completely legal, not regulated. So, you beautiful bugger, do the right thing. Anyway, without further ado, let's get back to the video. Right, now I'm going to start us off with the 6.5 PRC. Now, it really doesn't matter, obviously, what case you're using for this, you can apply the same method. Now, the first thing I want to do is make sure that the inside diameter of my neck is exactly the same. You don't know, somewhere in the manufacturing process, there might be a little ding or something on the necks, and you will actually see that if you inspect them visually sometimes. What I have seen, especially in the blue boxes that you get, you guys know which brand I'm talking about, but sometimes the Lapua cases, because they're not individually packaged like this. Let me actually open this and show you how nice this is. So these are still sealed apparently. Let me try this one. There we go. So these are, instead of being just dumped into a blue box, these are all individually packaged like this with high density foam to protect them. So visually inspecting them, you know, I'm not seeing any outliers here, but we have 100% like super square edge on the cases for the chamfer and the deburr, so we're going to do that. But before we get to doing that, I just want to make sure that every single one of them is the same, so that our next step that we're going to do on these is consistent, and we're obviously striving for consistency here. So if you've met me, you know that I'm all about efficiency. So one of the ways I do that with my reloading is having everything in the same spot. So essentially in this is for like screws and drill bits and stuff like that. So I've got one for my toolbox, and then I've got one for reloading. So I pretty much got in here, you know, all my annealing made perfect pilots with my settings that I need, the annealing codes. I've got all my, you know, headspace gauges and bullet comparators, all the different bits and bobs for, you know, shell holders. I've got my Henderson trimmer set screws, the Henderson pilots, the modified cases. So I try and keep everything in one spot. So for example, I now need to change on this zero press, I need to change out the shell holder. Then instead of digging in a random drawer for a shell holder, I know I can just come over to my thing and find a Magnum shell holder, and it's literally as easy as 1, 2, 3, and then oops, threw the wrong thing back. But you know, instead of faffing around, scratching and things looking for shell holders, I find it very convenient to just have sort of everything in one spot. And all of these things sort of complement each other. They all get used on the same times. So this was very aggressive, but this has worked very well for me. Let's just make sure that is hunky-dory and proper casing, just to double check we've done everything. And then we'll set up our expander die next. Alright, so next step for us is going to be to run the expander mandrel through the necks. And the reason we want to do that, as I mentioned, we want to make sure that this inside diameter of the neck is 100% consistent. Now, I like to use a little bit of imperial sizing wax. I'm literally just going to rub my finger in there, and I'm not going to touch the outside of this case at all. I'm just going to do a light little rub like that. So there is a little bit of lube on the inside. Now, as you know, a little bit of lube goes a long way. And then we're going to set up our APW expander mandrel. Now this set comes with 6 different calibers, all the way from 224 all the way up to 338. I've already inserted the mandrel, the .263 mandrel. So in other words, I'm going to set these cases up so I have precisely 1,000's worth of neck tension. Now, Where do you see the benefits of an expander mandrel? It's going to drastically lower your STs and ES numbers. So your standard deviation and your extreme spread is going to come down significantly. Now when you're setting this up, you'll easily feel once you start ramming the bottom of the case into the mandrel. So I've kind of set this up already, and I'm literally just going to work the neck, and I'm going to do this for all the brass so that we have 100% concentrically round on the middle before we head to our next step. What this is going to do for you, you know, sometimes you seat bullets. Okay, let's pretend we're seating bullets. Sometimes when you're seating them, you feel every now and again you have that one that goes like it's a little bit more tough to seat it, and you can feel you're having to work a little bit harder on the press arm. The expander mandrel eliminates that. Because that bullet where you're feeling like, oh, this one's a little bit more stiff than the other ones, that bullet might be an outlier. Now the problem with that is if you're shooting a match and you see all of a sudden you're shooting high over the target, if you have bad ammo as a result of bad neck tension and you make an adjustment off of that shot, that could have been a case where you didn't do anything wrong, it was just too much neck tension on that specific round, your next shot is likely going to be a miss too, because you're taking bad information as a result of bad ammunition. So make sure you avoid that mistake by just running expander mandrels. And I run this every time I reload my cases. I'll repeat this step. This is one of the last steps I'll do before I actually do the powder and the bullet seating. So for our next step, we're going to swap out our tools, and then we're going to chamfer and deburr the inside and outside of the case neck. And the reason we want to do that is because when you have that square inside edge, sometimes when you're seating bullets, especially if you haven't done a good job of controlling neck tension, you can damage the copper jackets, and in extreme cases you'll see little pieces of the copper coming off. Now that's going to lead to, number one, driving my OCD insane, and number two, it's going to lead to inconsistent BCs and weaker BCs downrange ballistic coefficient. So we want to eliminate that. As for the outside edge of the brass, it's just going to help you eliminate, feeding issues as a result of that square edge potentially hooking onto something. So just making that nice and smooth just gives your bullet a nice little smooth path up into the feed ramp. Now, you don't have to use the Henderson precision trimmer like I'm about to. The reason I decided to pick up that specific trimmer, and I've done a whole video on that which you guys can watch over here. I always need to remember to link these. It's not going to show up on your smart TV, by the way. But the reason I decided to pick up that specific trimmer is because it's essentially doing three things in one. It's chamfering, deburring, and cutting to overall length. So without further ado, let me swap this out and let's get to trimming. Now my bench mount is such a beautiful system because I'm able to change between presses and other tools in a matter of seconds. So these are out of stock on my website at the moment, but we've placed a gigantic order for them. They'll be back soon, so if you want to check out these quick change bench mounts, impactproshop.net, I'm going to link that for you guys down below the video. Now, my goal here is to literally take the tiniest bit of metal off the front of this case. So I need to set up my Henderson trimmer, so I'm going to pop this case in. My goal is going to be, first of all, it goes in perfectly, as you guys can see on this other angle. But my goal is going to be to set up a new set screw in this section of the trimmer here, so that we literally just grazing the front of that, and then I'm going to write 6.5 PRC on that set screw, and I'm going to have that good to go. So here we go, we're very close. If I adjust that screw in a little bit, we can see we're almost making contact, and I'm going to call round about there good. I'm going to cut one case, chamfer and deburr, and it's also going to cut the overall length the slightest bit. But I'm going to have to set that lock nut real quick, and after I've done that, I'm going to see what we get as a overall measurement. Okay, we're going to make sure our calipers is zeroed out, and we're going to be at 2.017. So that's our measurement. Let's pop this in. I'm not going to bother with the little shield now because we're just going to be kissing. Okay, now that literally just touched it. And the reason I always set it up long the first time, because you can't put metal back, so I could just make small adjustments and get this absolutely money. And this is going to be a rinse and repeat for me until I get this perfect. It is a thing of freaking beauty, this trimmer. I'm going to do that ever so slightly. Let's see what our measurement is. Oh, money. This is exactly what I wanted to achieve. So now I know I'm going to be absolutely rock solid. So as you can see there, 2.0165. So I've literally taken the tiniest of metal off there, but given myself a perfect chamfer and deburr. I'm going to do the smallest of adjustments. I want to take about another little bit off that. And the reason I want to do that, I don't want to go too short, okay? Because if you go too short, you might start getting a carbon ring on the front, and that is not going to be ideal for you. I need to go that way, so I can go a little bit more in, lock that down. Let's double check this guy. I think that's money. Okay, so now I've got an even nicer chamfer and deburr. I've taken a tiny bit more metal off, and we're still, I haven't actually gotten much back. So it's still 2.0165. So that is going to be perfect. And the reason I want to get that is because if you go too short, there'll actually be a little bit of space for carbon to start building up, and you can get a carbon ring in your chamber, which is quite dangerous. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a permanent Koki, like a gold one. I'm going to write 6.5 PRC there, and then I know after I've expanded the necks on the rest of them, because obviously for the purpose of the video I've just done one for you guys, but then I can run them all through this trimmer, and for life I can literally leave that set up as it is, and every time I need to go back to 6.5 PRC, literally just take out that set screw. And by the way, when I did my initial video on the Henderson trimmer, I said that I don't like these set screws. I would have liked to rather see like a sort of micrometer type system. But honestly, after much use with it, this is the way to go. It's so easy once it's set up. So that's literally as simple as that. These are now ready to go, and they're going to be super consistent. Now you might ask, Pete, do you bother taking the little bit of lube that's in the neck out? Do you wash these cases again? No, I don't. I'll just shoot them straight like this. I have found for the type of shooting that I'm doing, even with the long range stuff, having that little bit of lube in the neck is not considered a deal breaker for me. So that is what I do with brand new cases every time to have the most consistency for me. Alright guys, that leaves us with one perfectly prepped 6.5 PRC case, absolutely ready to rock when my new rifle shows up. Now, unfortunately, YouTube kind of limits what I can and can't show when it comes to reloading. That's why I put together a step-by-step reloading for precision online course. The link to that is down below. I offer 30-day back money guarantee. Make sure you check it out. That investment into your reloading is going to pay off multiple times over, because you're going to buy the right stuff from the beginning. You're not going to overwork your brass, and you're going to get results quicker. So make sure you check that out. I also want to give back to you guys a little. As you know, I've been shooting for Vortex for the longest time, and they said, hey Pete, everybody who buys merch, and you guys know I pretty much live in this merch. In fact, my wife is constantly asking me not to wear a Vortex related item when we leave the house. They're going to give you 20% off for anybody shopping on their website on vortexoptics.com for their apparel. Just use the code FAST20 and you'll save 20% off. Now, good news for the guys in South Africa, some of the stuff you'll see me wearing is also available on Impact Pro Shop. So if you want to shop Vortex merch and other goodness, including MDT, head on over to impactproshop.net. As always, guys, please use the links in our descriptions. If you're buying something off Amazon, anything, all those little affiliate commissions does make this channel more viable, and I can't thank you guys enough. It is still surreal to me that I get to do this with you guys, and it's 100% as a result of you guys supporting the channel and supporting all the things we're doing. And literally, even if you haven't bought anything from us, just the fact that you're here and you're watching this video, it's honestly, I often feel like it is so surreal that I get to do this, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. It is truly a blessing, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. So, with that said, I love you a long time, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.